Greetings, students! I would like to resume our inquiry into the Chicago incident. Why did the entity in the videos make the references that it did to Satanism and illuminated organizations? To answer that, we must first ask, what is that entity? It is easy to identify what it appears to be. Max Headroom, a character from a science fiction movie that was released 3 years prior to the incident. To be more precise, it appears to be a man in a Max Headroom mask. But after having conducted my researches, I assert that what appeared was actually the fractured consciousness of Max Headroom, stillborn into the airwaves and twitching in its final throes of life. Douglas Hofstadter discusses the evolution of consciousness across 2 books, Gödel, Escher, Bach, and I Am a Strange Loop. In these, he lays out that the essential qualities necessary for consciousness, which I have adapted here into 2 rules. That 1, there is a system capable of self-reference, and 2, that system be animate. One metaphor that I find particularly useful in understanding the eerie power of self-reference is the phenomenon one sees when facing 2 mirrors at each other. There is a deep spiraling recession into blackness. As we continue, something to keep in mind regarding evolution is that expression precedes use. A leg manifests before walking is developed, and when it becomes so that walking is the principal use of the proto-leg, other qualities emerge which enshrine walking as its essential function. But the leg came first. Now, while a human is a biological creature and evolved biologically, a personality is a social creature. Its mechanisms of evolutionary development are gossip and perception. And unlike a human, which achieves continuous bodily expression over the course of a lifetime, a personality is reborn each time it is conceived. And I'd posit that we have been a little too stringent in our insistence that a consciousness has special access to but one personality, and that one personality is accessible only to its original consciousness. Indeed, a consciousness mints personalities at the rate that a culture mints children. And as evolution compounds, personalities may grow strange. The bubbling world of science fiction in the 1980s was rife with possibility. Like the primordial soup, it buzzed with electricity and odd combinations. While there were some fine examples of films that discussed illuminated control of the populace, Videodrome and They Live come readily to mind, there was a single film that actually broke through the barrier and achieved self-reference to an illuminated society. That film was Max Headroom, 20 minutes into the future. In that film, a large media conglomerate is developing advertisements that kill people, and a reporter under the employ of that company attempts to expose it. In the action sequence that follows his revelation, he is concussed by a bar that says Max Headroom 2.3 meters. In an attempt to cover up his subsequent disappearance, the conglomerate creates a computer-generated stand-in and uploads his brain to it. At first, he just says Max Headroom over and over, because it was the last thing his dying brain saw. But then he is exposed to all the world's media, and he develops a synthetic personality as a consummate television host.
Hi. Both of you.
The point at which this starts to impinge on reality is the later development of the character. This contextualizes his later appearances in narrative shows as an actor playing himself.
What kind of show is this, anyway?
Not a character. He later pushes deeper into presumptive reality. In 1985, Max Headroom appears on David Letterman's program, in a TV that had been wheeled onto set. At last, later that year, Max Headroom fulfilled his original character's fate by serving the interests of his dark creators by becoming the face of New Coke.
If you can't beat it, catch the wave. Coke.
We will tease out the deeper significance of this union in a later installment, but for now, I want you to consider the weirdness of a personality that has slid from fictional to artificial, accepting an endorsement contract of any sort. He has at this point achieved the legal reality of personality which corporations were granted in American courts not long ago. It is therefore a natural progression of his trajectory that he should become truly unchained, unscripted, and unhinged in public view on television during the Signal Intrusion event. With the development of this film and the later career of its titular character, it is as though the Illuminati conjured itself into the deepest reflection of the self-facing mirrors. The place, as we put it earlier in the series, where subtlety and nothingness merge. And with each self-reflective twist of Max Headroom's career, the Illuminati and its prime subject of control come closer and closer to the surface of that first mirror, until Chicago 1987, when they start banging on the glass. It is no surprise that Channel 11's call sign is WTTW, which stands for Window to the World. Indeed, across the Chicago metropolitan area, the television screens constituted thousands of windows into the houses and minds of the populace. The Illuminati was attempting to force those windows open, and from what I can tell, they may have succeeded. There is a very important detail here that I want to highlight before we conclude for the evening. In the original fiction, which became the genetic plan out of which the creature's whole being developed, Max Headroom was only capable of repeating what it had been exposed to. We saw in our last video that many of the details of this seemingly incoherent speech he gave during the intrusion event were actually coded reference to illuminated groups. If the principal function of this personality is that it regurgitates what it has seen in a random spew, and what we notice in the entrails that it has spewed is reference to the Illuminati, then there seems to be only one possible conclusion: that Max Headroom is being sustained and developed off the airwaves by these organizations themselves! Or at least his impressionable consciousness flickered in to perceive them. And from the looks of this video, what he saw had no salutary effects. Our general knowledge of these phenomena brought us here. In the following videos, I will describe what new things we can learn from Max's catastrophic secret spewing appearance on WTTW. Until then, may the Pyramid's eye watch over us all.